in the long run, passivity won't pay off. It never pays off. If you want a life of meaning and transcendence, you're going to have to move. Aggression doesn't have to be toxic or damaging. Healthy aggression risks. It builds new things. It breaks through barriers. It's the key to living a life that matters. I'm Brian Tome, and this is The Aggressive Life. You know, very few people reach the upper echelons of the National Football League, let alone win a Super Bowl as a player and a coach, let alone get to talk to such a person. Well, today, we get to talk to such a person on The Aggressive Life. We're talking about legends. Legends like Mike Ditka, Tom Flores, Tony Dungy, and our guest today, current head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, Doug Pederson. Doug spent the majority of his professional career playing with the Green Bay Packers. He served as a backup to Brent Favre and a holder on place kicks, winning Super Bowl 31. And after retiring as a player from the NFL in 2005, Doug spent 4 seasons as a high school football coach in Louisiana, but he had more to prove. In 2016, he was hired as the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. In his only second season, the team went 13-3, despite being underdogs in the playoffs. Coach Pederson led his team to victory in Super Bowl 52 over the New England Patriots. God bless America. Bringing home the first Lombardi trophy in franchise. Anybody who beats the New England Patriots is a friend of mine. He has plenty to teach us about perseverance, hard work, and what it takes to get the best out of others. I'm beyond excited to welcome to The Aggressive Life, Coach Doug Pederson. Welcome to The Aggressive Life, Coach.
Hey, Brian, thank you so much for having me on. That's a lot of energy right there for that intro. I do appreciate it.
Dude, this has been a fantasy of mine, being with you. A little backstory that others may not know. We do a Super Bowl of preaching at Crossroads, which is my day job. It's the largest attended service we do every year. And the last year we did it, and when I say largest, I don't know how many tens of thousands of people. They're just a lot. So some guy comes up front at the church. I have this little room in between services I go to. It's at multiple campuses. It's streaming all over the country. And this guy comes forward at one of the campuses and says, "Hey, I'm Doug Pederson, the Super Bowl coach." I assume that's what you said. I don't know. But someone comes back and gets me in the room where I am between. They say, "Hey, there's a Super Bowl coach here in the room. Would you like to meet him?" I'm like, there is no Super Bowl, real, legitimate. That is not true. Open the door, in you walk in, and I'm going, my goodness, you were there. Just amazing. So Doug and I had an amazing ability to connect for a bit, and we've been doing some texts and emails. So this is a fantasy being able to have you on the podcast, Doug. Thanks for being here.
Oh, man, thanks again, Brian, for having me. Yeah, that was a great weekend. We were just in visiting our son that weekend, and in Cincinnati, and just had a chance. He'd been coming to your church, he and his girlfriend at the time, now fiance, but yeah, what a awesome Sunday service to go see the Super Bowl of preaching, that weekend. It was a lot of fun, and obviously one of your co-pastors there is from Philadelphia, so had a chance to meet him and come back and meet you. It was a great time.
Let's talk about you, Doug. Enough about other stuff. Just reading your bio here, it is really stunning that you covered as much ground professionally as you did in a, as I read it, a pretty short period of time. You're out of the NFL. You don't have hyper huge success as a player, though anybody who gets to play in the NFL, if they're third string riding the bench, has massive success. I mean, you're just the elite of the elite to be able to get there. But you go from there to coaching high school and winning a Super Bowl as a coach, not too much long after that. Connect the pieces for me. How do you do that? How does one progress their career that quickly?
Well, for me, obviously, having the opportunity to play in the National Football League for so many years and meet so many coaches and players, and obviously one of my mentors even today is Andy Reid, head coach there of the Kansas City Chiefs, who just won the Super Bowl this past year. But for me, it was a matter of I always felt like coaching was in my future. Coaching was my was sort of my career path that I wanted to go down. And even when I stepped away from football, after the 2004 season, I still didn't know exactly which avenue. Was it going to be high school, college, or professional football that I wanted to get into? And so I stepped away from the game, but I got into high school coaching for 4 years in Shreveport, Louisiana. But I always stayed in touch with Andy Reid and a lot of my, close friends and dear friends in the National Football League at the time. And then 4 years later, fast forward, I did the high school thing and really loved coaching and teaching and mentoring young kids and watching those boys just develop and have, turn into young men, go off and either play college athletics or go to college and graduate, get married, have success. It was a lot of fun to see that obviously transpire, but I jumped right back. Coach Reid had an opportunity for me, and I came back into the National Football League. And 2009, I jumped back in as a coach, and really from there, I kind of rode Coach Reid's coattails, so to speak, and he kind of mentored me and brought me up. I started out as a quality control coach, which is like the low man on the totem pole when it comes from a coaching perspective. And then I was promoted to quarterbacks coach for a couple of years, and then Coach Reid, got let go in Philadelphia, and he merges in Kansas City, and he brought me, and I became his offensive coordinator for 3 years, 2013, 14, and 15. And then I came back to Philadelphia, and had the opportunity and was given the opportunity to become, the head coach in Philadelphia in 2016. So always having those connections and always just sort of, continuing to have relationships with guys like Coach Reid gave me the opportunity. And I think looking back to the fact that I played so many years, even though I was a backup quarterback, I never really had the starting success, even though I think I started, I think it's a number of 17 games, I think is what I started. I think nine in Philly and another, 8 or so there in Cleveland. But having played really gave me a great opportunity to come back to the National Football League as a coach and been blessed. And obviously, to win a Super Bowl in my second year is something that is still kind of a surreal feeling for me even today.
Utterly stunning. So a lot of it you're saying is the networking relationships you were able to keep up enabled you to kind of progress. By any chance, have you heard of or seen the TV show Alone that's on Netflix? These people are out in the middle of the Arctic. Have you seen this at all?
I have not seen that one, no.
I just got done binging it recently, and it's just stunning. These people who are stuck out in the middle of nowhere for a $500,000 prize, and they have nothing. They can have 10 items with them other than their clothes. Like they can have a bow and arrow, they can choose a fire stick, that kind of thing. And just about all these folks were there because they were needing the money for their families. And some of these folks are going 60, 70 days hunting, killing, catching their own food, building their own. I'm talking about negative 10 degrees. I'm talking about bashing through ice with an axe. Just crazy. And I just kept watching that going, man, if these people are this good, are this amazing, over 60, 70, how can they possibly need money at home? Because somebody with that kind of stick-to-itiveness work ethic should be able to figure out the money piece. And as I thought about it, I thought, well, maybe it is that they haven't been able to figure out relational connections and how that impacts you financially. It sounds like you were pretty good at that.
It's something that I felt like even, because again, I wasn't the starter. I wasn't the face of anybody's franchise. I just was the backup guy and supporting the starters, supporting Brett Favre when I was in Green Bay, supporting Dan Marino when I was in Miami, and Donovan McNabb in Philadelphia and guys like that. It's all about building those relationships for me. And I felt like that even my 4 years in high school football and having to deal with, kind of coach up parents and administrators and teachers. And that just all I think has prepared me, for this opportunity going into my 5th year now with the Philadelphia Eagles. And, you can't go through life doing things your own. You just can't do it. You got to have a support system. You got to have people that you rely on and lean on and trust and reach out to from time to time, and a mentorship program. And that's why I continue to try to build, and it's even with my current team, building the relationships with the players, and it's just something that I think I've learned over the course of my NFL playing days.
Well, I never know exactly where I want to take the conversations, but this is a deep one here, man. This is really interesting. You're basically displaying a level of relational intelligence, which I'm not finding a lot of places a value. In fact, I saw it when we first met. Like you didn't have to come back to see us, and then when you did, I kept thinking you were going to come in and just go like, okay, good to see you. I kind of made my appearance some way. Like we were sitting hanging out. I felt like after 10 minutes with you, in fact, we almost watched the Super Bowl that day together. You were going to come over to my house and hang out, but your son was stuck in the hotel. There was definitely a relational component that's natural to you, that you've worked on, that's got to be helpful for you. If you traced it way back, where did you learn that?
I think that I learned it. I saw it through my parents, obviously. And how they raised us as kids, and then really for me too. I think it kind of comes with just the time, the territory, just understanding that and as I got older and as I continued to play, and even my time in Green Bay as a player, I watched Mike Holmgren was our coach when we won the Super Bowl, and then obviously he went back with the Seahawks and all of that. But I was able to watch coaches like that. Don Shula, legendary coach in Miami. I was able to watch him, Mike Holmgren, Coach Reed, these guys, and even my high school coaches and my college coaches, just being able to watch them and see how they interact with people and how they rely on so many people to get the job done. And I think that has just sort of mentored me through my career. But it all started with my mom and dad and how they built the relationships with us as kids.
It really is a skill to learn how to interact with one another. And I might even say it's an attitude of aggressiveness that most people don't do. Most people I see who like being aggressive are, physically aggressive or verbally aggressive, maybe bordering on abusive. But aggression meaning I'm going to take control of my life. I'm going to do something today. I'm going to push. To actually do that in the relational realm, that's a huge thing. I think that's also why we're hurting so much the country with the COVID-19 right now. We can't be relational with one another. How are you doing with the whole COVID stuff? And as a relational guy, probably having to be a lot less relational.
Yeah, you are. And that's the part that has been probably the hardest to get used to, because, we missed an entire off season with our players being in our building, being in our facility. We did a lot of these, Zoom or Microsoft Teams meetings from, way back in April all the way through to, to the middle of part of June. And, that's the part I miss being around the players this spring and my coaches. It's just something I just can't wait to get back into the building. Can't wait to get back around the players and continue what we did in the spring. It's just something that's, but it was hard. It was hard to do, but we managed it, and it's something that we'll learn from as we move forward, even after these next few months pass.
How good was it when you could actually go to a stadium and you could scream and drink beer? What is our World Cup? I mean, honestly, who would have thought that we would go months and months and months in the good old US of A not being able to scream and drink beer at a sporting event? That honestly, that is utterly mind-blowing. And it's mind-blowing that us as leaders have had to learn new skills that we never thought that we would learn. I haven't been in the room with our staff, all our staff in a room for 4 months now? I tell you what, there is vision drift when a leader can't get with his folks. We're doing the Zoom calls and all that stuff, but it's just tough. How are you leading during the COVID-19? How have you adapted?
I haven't been in our building since March 13th. That was the last time that my coaches and myself were together as a unit. Was March 13th, and we've been away ever since doing these types of formatted meetings, not only with the staff and the players. But at first, I really didn't know. I thought that maybe it would go a couple of weeks and then we'd be back in the building, and and everything would be okay. But obviously it lasted, and it's still continuing to last much longer than I think we all had anticipated. But for me, instead of making excuses that we couldn't be in the building together, we couldn't be around each other, we weren't going to have an off season with our players to be on the grass. Instead of making any kind of excuse that we could, we and myself, and being a leader, I had to embrace that. I had to show enthusiasm. I had to show, and you're absolutely right. You learn different skills. I mean, you learn how to do things and be creative, whether it's virtual workouts from our strength conditioning staff, to have virtual workouts with our players and be able to put them in pods, and they're all over the country, but yet they can still work out virtually on the same call, bringing in guest speakers to speak to the team, little Q&A, just like this, to address the football team, to have a staff meeting. We're not making excuses. We're going to embrace it. And whatever direction we go in the future, we're going to embrace that as a football team and as an organization. And for me, being able to spend this much time at home has allowed me to connect with my kids, connect obviously with my wife during this time, and just to get that breath of fresh air where you kind of slow down. I mean, we were, in our world, in the NFL, it's a fast-paced world. It goes by so fast, and this has really allowed me to slow down, take a deep breath, focus on what I want to focus on my message, focus on the team, focus on my staff, focus on my family, and really dive into that, and then obviously prepare for hopefully this upcoming year.
So as we're about halfway through 2020, complete roller coaster of a year. That's probably the most positive thing I could say about the year is roller coaster. That assumes there's some highs. There are not many highs this year. But has there been anything that you have learned or you've experienced in these in this year that you think, I think that might be part of my life permanently going forward? Are there any mindsets? Are there any patterns? Are there any interactional data with your wife? Anything that you're doing that, or you've had to do, that you think this could be just permanent?
I think the biggest thing is what it's taught me, not only as a coach, but as a leader, even the leader of my family, is that it's okay to take a step back from life sometimes and just kind of hit the pause button and just take a deep breath, just kind of exhale just a little bit and slow down from the fast-paced, lifestyle that we all seem to live. And I think as coaches too, we spent so much time, we went back old school. I was picking up my phone actually and calling college coaches when we were preparing for the NFL draft back in April, and having to do things, by telephone again, or sending emails or whatever it did. But it just allowed me enough time just to slow down, see the big picture, and now moving forward, you could spend more time at home. You could have these meetings in the off season like we just did. I don't think you substitute being around your team and your players. You can't do that, but preparing for the draft maybe, or preparing your staff for the off season, allowing those people to kind of separate, be at home, spend 3 to maybe 4 or 5 weeks, whatever it is, at home during the off season, where you're still getting work done, but you're also at home around your family. And it's so important for me to have family involved with what we do. I encourage my staff to, have their families involved, having their kids involved if they want to come to practices and obviously games and things like that. But that's what it's really taught me. It's taught me to really just slow down, see the big picture. I can still get my work done, still be productive, still be efficient, even though that I'm working from home.
When you went from being a player to a coach, what were some of the transitions mentally you had to go through? Or were you always preparing to be a coach while you were a player? Did you find that when you became a coach, it was just kind of a next progression? I mean, people go from one role to another, oftentimes falter, but you went from one role to another, obviously a hyper promotion, and you exceeded. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think part of the answer is, my last couple of years as a player in the National Football League kind of gave me, I think, a sense of what coaching was all about. When I was in Green Bay, when I was backing up Brett Favre and sort of helping him on game days, helping him, prepare and study during the week and get the game plan down and do all of that. And that right there was sort of leading me down this path of coaching. And then I think just being a backup quarterback, you always have to be ready. You always have to be prepared. And it's really no different than, taking that now and becoming a head coach of a team or a CEO of a business, just taking those opportunities and what you learned and applying. I think again, having been in an NFL locker room, I think has helped. I know the dynamic of what locker rooms are about. We talked about building and cultivating, relationships with players, and I know what that's about. And I've seen that work. But there's also the fine line where you can, you've got to maintain that head coach sort of stigma, as they say, and that's something that has been, I think, the hardest thing for me is because I want to be down there in the locker room with the players all the time, around them, just like I was as a player, and now. Sometimes, you're up here in the, the locker room's downstairs, you're upstairs and you're a little bit isolated and separated from the players. But, for me, it's just a matter of just continuing to, whether I'm on the field or if a player has, maybe there's something going on in their life and you can see it because it affects them on the field, right? It affects their whole demeanor. And so for me, that's what's so special about leading the football team is because I get to shape it and do it the way I think it should be run. I mean, is it right? I don't know. Is it wrong? I don't know. But it's the way that I feel like I should lead the football team, and being able to reach out to players that way has been something that I've really enjoyed.
That's a fascinating line you said. You said, I have to maintain the stigma of being the head football coach. I assume you're talking about there is a healthy degree of separation and an aura of leadership that you have to maintain. I have not heard many people talk about that. Just talk about how that works out for you in the NFL and your leadership.
Yeah, because, not every player feels comfortable coming up to the head coach's office, right? I mean, or even to their position coach's office. It was that way when I was a position coach. It was, you have, your degrees of separation where, as a position coach, and I was a quarterback coach, so I was with the quarterbacks all the time. And then you become an offensive coordinator and you remove yourself from, say, the quarterbacks, but now you're in charge of the entire offense. And now you've removed yourself even more. Now you're one of 32 head coaches in the National Football League, and it separates a little bit more. So there's always that sort of that stigma of man, he's the head coach. I can't go talk to him. I can't go to his I can't go up to his office. It's always been that way as players. It's just hard for players to come upstairs. And I've always given my team, I've always told them that, listen, it's always an open door policy with me and with all my coaches. And I encourage the guys to come upstairs and talk and sit, whatever's going on. It doesn't even have to be football related. It can be life related. And I enjoy having those conversations with players. But for me, it's a matter of trying to eliminate that stigma, interjecting myself with the team, showing them that, hey, listen, I pull my pants up just like you do. And even though I'm the head coach, I may not have all the answers. I don't have all the answers. And we're going to figure stuff out together. I think that's why we've had success in Philadelphia, even these last couple of seasons, is because we've been able to roll up our sleeves as a team. We've eliminated all sort of those stigmas and that aura around coaches and players, and we go to work, and that's what's worked for us, and we'll continue to do that.
What's the differences and similarities in coaching and leading high school kids and coaching and leading professional athletes?
Paychecks.
That's it.
Honestly, it's the same thing, because I remember thinking about and thinking back, on my high school days and watching those kids and how hungry they were for information, and they want to succeed. They want to have success not only on the football field, but also off the football field. And that to me was the ultimate, being able to teach and being a teacher and instructing. And I think it's identical today, even though, we're dealing with, multi-millionaire, $1 million, salaried athletes. It's no different. These guys are hungry. They want to be coached. They want to be taught. And they, I enjoy watching them succeed on the field and ultimately winning games and then ultimately winning, a Super Bowl. So there's really not a lot of differences. The kids, these players are all the same.
Everyone wants to be led and led well, don't they? Whether you're a high school athlete, a professional athlete, whether you're 4 years old in the home or whether you're 30 years old in the home. I find my kids, I keep thinking I'm done leading them. I keep thinking I'm done parenting them, but no, it never ends, man. They want dad on his game.
Right. And they want to see, and I know being around my players and my guys, and I know our roster changes every year. I mean, that's just the way the business is, but they want to see authentic, real, transparent guys, right? They don't want to see these players are smart. They're well educated. They understand what's going on, but it's the same way with parenting. I have 3 boys, and my wife and I, they want to see authenticity. They want to see transparency. They want to see that we're real. And even though as dads sometimes we try to walk around and we have the Superman mentality, like we can do everything and we will do anything and everything for our kids. It's okay to say, hey, let's figure this out together. I don't have all the answers, and that's what these players really want.
Your first season, you come in the NFL, you go 7-9. I mean, that's not that bad. I've never coached a 7-9 record in the NFL, but you probably weren't hyper happy with that. How did you process that after your first go around?
Yeah, 7-9, and actually, there were seven head coaches when I was hired. I was one of 7 that year in 2016, and I was of the 7. I was the last as far as rated head coaches.
That'll make you feel good. Jeez.
I was the 7th one. Like, there's no way Doug Pederson should be a head coach in the National Football League, and even after that first season, 7-9, those same people were saying the same things, like they shouldn't have hired Coach Pederson, blah blah blah. And it was just a matter of just tuning all of that out and going back to work with the same group of guys, and nothing changed. I mean, we had the same team, same group of guys, and it's just a matter of getting them to believe in me, which they did. And the success we had was, obviously paramount, because we ended that year with a Super Bowl, championship.
That is ridiculous. My God, and I'm looking at your Zoom screen right now. You have 2 Lombardis behind you. The one is for the Eagles. What's the other one from?
From Green Bay. I went when I did these trophies after my Super Bowl win in Philly. I do have the one over my left shoulder, which is my Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl 52, and the one over my right here is from Green Bay when we beat the Patriots again in Super Bowl 31 in New Orleans. I went ahead and got that one made up for me as well. So just a little reminder. Been to 3 Super Bowls in my career, 2 as a player, 1 as a coach, and had the success and obviously the opportunity to win 2 of them.
The Patriots have to hate you. Doug Pederson, just the name Doug Pederson makes them just totally freaks them out. You're the Patriot killer.
No, trust me, they're not afraid of Doug Pederson. There's no way. There's no way.
Oh man. Well, another thing that's interesting about your reputation is I remember before I knew you, and I was just watching pregame for that. The Super Bowl victory that you had as a coach, and reading stuff beforehand, there was quite a bit of buzz around your Christian faith, quite a bit of buzz around the faith component in the Philadelphia Eagles locker room. Is that something that's normative for other NFL teams, or is there something unique that's happening with you and the Eagles?
It's hard to speak for other teams, but I would say for me and for the Eagles, it's it's how I want to lead the football team. I think my faith is first and foremost. I wouldn't be sitting here today, obviously, without my relationship, with Jesus Christ. And I, I'm not ashamed to say that. And I even said that on the podium after the Super Bowl, that, that all of the success is because of him. And so, and it's something that I speak of it, in ways where the team can understand. I do want them to understand that I am a man of faith and my relationship with Jesus Christ and all of that. But at the same time, it's not something that I'm, I'm beating the players over the head with. I feel like, I can help maybe help teach. I can help instruct. I can help lead this way, and then having players that also are Christians, that they can obviously take my lead and they can, and they can work it through the locker room. So it's just something that I truly believe in. It's how it's where I am, as a coach, and I continue to lead my team based on, my relationship with Christ and how he instructs me on a daily basis.
With you, though, in leading an organization where obviously not everybody in the locker room is a person of faith or has interest in it, but you must obviously be doing it in such a way that you're not running over people, you're not offending people, you're not, obviously not everybody who's on your roster is a believer, but everybody is on the page, on the team. Is there any things that you do as a leader of faith that you think people in the boardroom or in their own businesses could do with people who report to them that don't share their faith? Any secrets you've learned?
The only thing that I've learned, being in this role, and I even did this when I was a coordinator in Kansas City, and as I encourage, I do, for instance, I do a coach's Bible study that, just invite the coaches if they want to come and on a Friday morning, during the season and spend 30 minutes in the Word, great. I encourage the players. The players have, Bible studies during the week, and you're absolutely right. I mean, everybody's different. Everybody's level of faith is different. Not everybody is a believer, but for me, it's taking what I've read that day, taking a little nugget. It might be from scripture. It might be something from an author or a book that I'm reading at that particular time, and being able to sort of intertwine that into my message to the team, in a team meeting setting, maybe on a Tuesday morning or even a Saturday night before the game, where I can really sort of connect with the team that way. And I think that for me has been good little subtle ways to sort of interject my faith with the team without having to be, an abrasive, bold, over the top. Not that I don't want to preach at them, because that's not what they want, but I can do that in a subtle, unique way that uplifts me and it uplifts the team, and we're all encouraged by that.
Has there been a Bible verse that's been on your mind during this season more so than in any other season? Any verse you've seen that, this kind of sums up what I've been feeling or what we've been going through the last several months?
Yeah, and my favorite verse, and it's one of many, but Philippians 4:13, and I keep it. I got a little plaque here on my desk, and I think about that verse when I see it. I think, I can do all things, and I know that bottom line, my strength comes from Jesus Christ. That's where it starts, right? I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, and that's where it starts for me. And so with that, being able to do all this stuff we did and get everything done and accomplished, this off season, outside of, we missed the grass time with the players, but we got a lot of stuff done. And it's because of that. And I think about, and I see that verse every day. It sits right here on my desk and at home. And that has really motivated me and encouraged me through this time.
Doug Pederson, are you ready for the lightning round? This is how we conclude our podcast. This is going to test your mettle. We're going to see what you're made of. Are you up for the lightning round?
Let's go. I'm ready.
All right, because I know you're always firing people up. I'm going to fire you up. I think you could do it. I'd like to see 100% effort from you right now. I want to see everything in your mind put into these answers because I believe in you, Doug Pederson. I believe you have capacities that you've never thought of before, that if you band together with your brothers, stuff will happen that will be amazing.
Let's go.
Okay. All right, here we go. Favorite memory from your days as a player?
Super Bowl 31.
Okay. Did you like what on the sideline when the game ended or what?
Just Green Bay Packers. That whole season, we were 13-3. We won the NFC North back then, and went on to win the Super Bowl that year. That was the first of back-to-back Super Bowls.
Favorite football memory that was on the field?
1993, I was the quarterback on the field to win the game that gave Don Shula the all-time winningest active NFL coaching record at 325 career victories for him. And everybody thinks it was Dan Marino back then or Scott Mitchell, but it was Doug Pederson that was on the field. And what's ironic about the whole thing is that we beat the Philadelphia Eagles in Philadelphia for that win.
That is one of the most interesting lightning round answers I've ever heard. That's good. Okay. The day after you won the Super Bowl, what got you out of bed?
I didn't really sleep much that night. Just thinking of coming back to Philadelphia that next day on Monday morning, getting on that plane, coming back to Philly, to a city that was on fire. That to me was motivation of getting out of bed and preparing for that day.
Most aggressive decision you've made in the NFL?
Well, obviously the 4th and 1 at the goal line in the Super Bowl, called the Philly special. That to me, but actually that probably wasn't the most difficult decision. It was actually later in that game in the fourth quarter, we were faced with another 4th and 1 at around our own 40-yard line, and I made with about 6 minutes to go in the game, and we were losing at the time, and I made a decision to go for it there. We got it, went down and scored the game-winning touchdown, or really the touchdown to put us ahead in that football game. That was probably the more gutsier call than the Philly special.
Gosh, see, this is the problem, Doug. I fire you up for the lightning round, then I break the rules because so oftentimes someone gives a answer that's great, and I just want to let's talk about that more. Okay, pause on the lightning round just before we get back to it. Why is this? This is called the aggressive life. And you just nailed it here. You won the Super Bowl because you made some aggressive moves. How many times have we seen teams go into the prevent defense? They start getting passive. This is protect where we are. And the team of bam. What is that about the mindset of a coach that wants to conserve or be passive? But we see again and again in the NFL, the math seems to say the more aggressive you are, the more it's going to work out for you. Just right? Inform me.
No, you're absolutely right. Obviously, you look at the numbers, you look at the math, but for me, it's about preparing the team. If I hadn't prepared my team that spring, that training camp, all of that season for those moments, there's no way you make that decision. Then you punt the football. And then hopefully you stop the Patriots. I mean, there was only one punt in the football game, and it was by us. But if I'm not preparing my football team, for those moments, then yeah, you punt the ball and you move forward. Our team expected us to go for the Philly special. They expected us to go for the 4th and 1 later in the game. They just had so much confidence in themselves, and I had confidence in them that we could get the job done. And that's really, the bottom line with us.
What does this is for all the coaches out there. I'm thinking especially high school coaches, pee-wee coaches, JV coaches. What does it take to be a great coach?
It takes integrity. It takes character. It takes honesty, be transparent. Obviously you got to be a great leader and a great teacher. And you got to be a mentor. And to me, and you got to have convictions and beliefs in you, in me, and that's where it starts.
What would you tell the youngster, the peewee, the junior high kid, the JV, the varsity kid? What do you tell them when they have dreams of making the NFL?
You have to go after those dreams. You got to believe in those dreams. I was one of those kids that had that same desire, and motivation, and I wasn't going to let anything stand in the way of my opportunity and my dreams.
It's interesting you mentioned that verse earlier, and that's all for the lightning round. Great job, Coach Pederson. You mentioned before, I can do all things through Him who strengthens me. That Philippians 4:13 verse. I mean, that's really what a dream is, right? It's something that I can't do on my own. If I could do it on my own, it wouldn't be a dream. It'd be something I'd have in my pocket right now. It's something where I need the grace of Christ to intervene. It's something where I need Him to come and help me get to my next place. I don't know. Anything else you want to kind of blow out in terms of that verse and dreams?
Obviously, like I said, it's been my favorite verse, but that's been my life. I was always the underdog. I was always the one that people were always sort of second guessing. And I never let that stand in the way of my dreams and my goals. And bottom line is that Christ is bigger than all of that. And He carried me through a lot of difficult situations in my career and in my life. And has put me in this position today. And so, there's going to be a lot of garbage piled on top of you, over your career, especially as athletes, as coaches. I mean, we're in this spotlight every single day, right? The media spotlight, the social media spotlight, and things get dumped on us all the time. We're not good enough. We can't do that. We can't do this. We make poor decisions, but bottom line is I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I don't believe, and I don't lead my life, believing that lie, that the negative on top of me. I'm going to be bigger than that. I'm going to overcome all of that.
Amen. All right. So Doug, this has been a great time. Is there anything else you want to talk about that we haven't asked you about, or anything you want to push that we haven't mentioned? This is your time to help people connect with whatever you want them to connect with. Any place you want them to follow you on, or books you want them to give us an advertisement, Doug.
Well, obviously there is a book, Fearless. It's the book I wrote after the Super Bowl. It just talks about how an underdog becomes a champion, and really, and I kind of alluded to this earlier. That's been my professional career as a player. That's kind of been my my professional career as a coach. Is just always having the underdog mentality, right? I mean, even though you're on top and you win a championship and all that, you have to start over, right, the next year. And so I put that book together, and it's just sort of I don't know, it's kind of my mind's eye, I guess, on how we got, that team that year to the Super Bowl. And it's not about me, it's never about me. It's never about one person. And I preach that a lot to my football team. It's not about one guy. And I made a statement that one guy can make a difference, but a team can make the miracle. And it's so true, when you're dealing with so many individuals and collectively coming together to win just a game, but let alone win a championship is something pretty special. And so for me, it's just, being and staying as humble as I can and never getting, my parents used to say, you're getting too big for your britches, right? And you never want to get that way, and stay humble, stay grounded, because if the second you let your guard down is when you're going to get beat or you're going to get defeated. And I never want to approach life that way. I never want to raise my family that way, my relationship with my wife that way, our marriage that way, and obviously the football team that way. So that's something that has been, near and dear to my heart. That's kind of how I tick, I guess, each and every day. But again, it starts every morning with my quiet time, and that really sets the tone for my day.
I don't think that message of fearlessness we can hear too much. I mean, America's not the land of the free, we're the land of the fear. we have more anxieties and stresses and fears, more seatbelts, helmets, insurance policies, more meds consumed than any culture in the history of the world. And I'm not against helmets and safety helmets and insurance policies. I have them all. I'm not against meds. For some people, that's neurochemically necessary. I'm just saying, if we take a look at our culture, man, we are emotionally sapped as far as creativity, because we're just crushed with fear. And I think this is also part of why the COVID-19 just plays right into where we are. We're looking for things to fear. It's not good. So anytime someone's got a book to help us get our hands around that, that's great news.
Yep, you're absolutely right. And you know, I feel for so many people who have lost their jobs or have lost loved ones through this pandemic. And you know, but as we say as a football team, and we have a phrase that we use a lot, and it's kind of be our sort of the mantra for the 2020 Philadelphia Eagles is stronger together. And if we stay united, stay connected, stay grounded, stay stronger, we're going to get through anything. We'll get through everything, and our country will get through this as well. And you know, I'm just encouraged by that, and you know, wake up every day, you know, seeing where I can make a difference, whether it be in our community or with our team. And I truly believe that if we continue to stay strong, that we'll get through this. We'll get through this together.
Doug, it's been an honor and pleasure, brother. Can't wait to see you guys winning, and hoping to see you face to face again sometime. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks again.
Hey, thanks for listening. For more aggressive living, head over to briantome.com. Get signed up for the mailing list to get regular shots of positive aggression sent straight to your inbox. And while you're there, you can also find articles, podcasts, and books. I'm also active on Instagram. Search Brian Tome. Special thanks to the band judges for the music. Aggressive Life with Brian Tome is a production of Crossroads Church, Cincinnati, Ohio.